Hey everybody, welcome to Little Monsters Movie Podcast.
Good evening.
We're going to tell you tonight, we're both kind of got colds.
Ugly sumbitches tonight. We were making out, and he gave me his cold, and...
Oh boy.
Can't stand you.
Unbelievable. But yeah, a little stuffy here, so voice may sound changed. But anyways, we're going to do Psycho, 1960.
1960.
Alfred Hitchcock.
I think this is like
Anthony
the classiest
Perkins.
movie we've done. This is Hitchcock,
yeah,
true
classy,
artist.
definitely. Yeah,
And,
it even starts off a little film noirish. I mean, you know.
Right? I mean, this is kind of like, most people would say the introduction of the slasher into the American popular cinema.
Yep.
This is Alfred Hitchcock, guys, and if you haven't watched any Alfred Hitchcock movies, if you haven't seen this movie, shame on you. Like, if you're watching Bates Motel, and I don't watch Bates Motel, he does.
Yeah.
And so he'll tell you about that later, but I mean... hell,
you gotta
Jamie Lee
watch
Curtis, her mother's in this movie, all right, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of cool horror stuff that goes with this movie. There's a lot of cool history about this movie.
Well, yeah, we'll start right off. Let's just say where all this came from.
Yep.
I mean, we'll talk the serial killer who let me talk about that in a second. Ed Gein. Okay. 1940s. 30s,
yeah, that's I think after the war.
Yeah, okay. Late 1940s.
He
50s.
committed his crimes.
But and I'm not sure he's even serial killer. Supposedly two victims.
He was mostly a necrophiliac.
Yeah, mostly necrophiliac.
He mostly raided graves.
Yeah, which is very interesting. I mean, he pretty much, yeah. Well, he murdered the two that they know of. It was Bernice Warden and Mary Hogan.
Yes.
Those are the definites.
One was a hardware store worker. One worked at a bar, I believe. Bartender.
Yeah, and found them, hung like a deer.
Yes.
The whole 9 yards, cleaning them out. And
we'll
stuff
get a
like
little
that.
bit more, I think, as the movie goes on about Ed Gein.
Yeah.
But I get, the only true connection here is the mother issue, I think.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say. I mean,
Ed Gein had a very domineering.
All these movies,
mother.
which take a little bit from Ed Gein. I mean, you got Psycho, which we're gonna talk about, the main movie we're here. Then we go to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Because Ed Gein would actually wear the masks,
the
skins.
So that comes from him because Ed Gein did a lot of used a lot of body parts. I mean, there were, I think, 20, 30, 40 skulls? I forget how many.
Tons of skulls.
So
bowls made out of skulls.
Yeah, he would eat his cereal out in
lampshades,
right out
because he was very interested in cannibal tribes. He'd read all these pulp magazines about cannibal tribes, Nazi
war
he used
crimes. Everything from the body. He had a nipple belt.
He had a nipple belt, a belt made out of female nipples. They were always female parts, by the way. He had this. So that's kind of where Norman Bates ties into this. And then there's also Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, which is actually there's never been a recorded serial killer like Buffalo Bill. He's like a combination of Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy. As a matter of fact, I think the classic scene in Silence of the Lambs where he's got the cast on his hand trying to move that sofa. Yeah. I believe Ted Bundy actually used that. That was one of his little things that he would use.
Yeah.
Dahmer, the skinning and the things, and the Ed Gein, the wearing of the skin. So
how much Ed Gein...
They incorporated a lot of different serial killer types to make Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs. There's never been one quite that interesting.
But boy, he's had an effect on the horror genre up through the years.
Well, he was kind of like the first American one. It made big news. I mean, he was... I guess just to get into a little bit of it, he was born with a father, brother, mother...
Right. And father died of a heart attack early age.
Right. The mother was very domineering with the two sons.
Yeah. Believed to have pretty much, I mean, she was a whore. I mean, she, slept around. I think she even slept with the two sons.
I didn't stumble across that in my reading. It could be.
Okay.
But she definitely hated like all other women and bred that into her children.
Right.
She's a prostitute. Women, basically all other women were prostitutes. And that's really where...
Evil.
And I guess the older brother, was kind of wanting to get away from the family, move away. Yeah. And then one day they were clearing out some shrubs out in and supposedly there was a fire. Yeah. And, he turned up dead. But I guess later on they found like contusions on his head and everything, but they never pursued it. Yeah. So he may have very well have killed his brother. And he was asked about it, but I don't know if he ever gave a straight answer. He was found, after he committed these two murders and all these robbed graves and body parts were found in his home.
Yeah.
He was found, guilty but insane, and it was, held in institutions for the criminally insane.
Yeah, he was pretty lucky, though, at the time. I mean, he kind of got caught during the time to where the death penalty wasn't there and stuff like that, and he lived his life up until 77.
And he lived out in the middle of nowhere, and it's really, he went after the lady that worked in the hardware store, and just his receipt with his signature or whatever happened to be there, and that's kind of how they traced him to the murder, that he was the last one to see her. So, but he definitely had a big mother complex, because when they investigated his home, the rooms that she lived in were pristine.
Oh yeah, didn't touch nothing.
Right,
which goes off of Psycho a little bit.
Right, that was where the inspiration for the novel by Robert Bloch came in, called Psycho, that Alfred Hitchcock based his screenplay on. Well, he didn't write the screenplay, but he based the film that he directed on. But I haven't read Psycho. I have it on my e-reader, but I've never read it.
I haven't either.
And from what I understand, it's actually pretty different. Like Norman Bates in the book is kind of like overweight and just real. Like you hang around him and something's wrong with him. He's very creepy. Whereas I like how Anthony Perkins' take on Norman Bates. Very unassuming and innocent almost. Yeah. And like even when he's walking around, he's eating candy corn all the time. He's eating candy like a little kid. So
yeah, like the little
to
bag
add to his innocence,
like the little bag of candy that he's chowing down.
So that's kind of like where that all sort of came from. It was kind of hard to get this movie made at first. No studio thought this would make a good movie. Yeah. Ended up being a huge box office success. People waiting around the block in lines to get into the movie. They said even Hitchcock tried to buy up as many copies of the paperback novel as he could, so people wouldn't find out the twist ending.
Oh, that's right, I remember that. Oh yeah,
He didn't want people to know how it ended.
That snake.
And if you haven't seen this movie, we're gonna mess it up for you. So stop now and come back later if you haven't seen it. A lot of people probably already know, or think you know. Because it's about a very disturbed young man, and so he used. This is the time when Alfred Hitchcock had his TV show, which I know you and I would watch. Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah.
Great thriller mystery kind of stories, not really horror.
Yeah.
Once in a while there'd be something supernatural, I think, but for the most part just kind of like suspense stories.
Right.
Whodunits kind of thing.
Exactly.
And he always introduced the show with that "good evening," which is what I said at the beginning of the show. So if you got that, you know where I'm coming from. So he used, to save money, he used the TV crew, filmed it in black and white. This is the film he did after North by Northwest, which is considered one of the greatest
Cheers.
movies.
I'm drinking one of my kids' Hugs.
Little Hugs. He didn't offer me one.
Cheapest drink ever.
I got my drink.
Well, you're always,
I'm always prepared. I'm always parched.
Yeah.
So he filmed it in black and white. Used his TV crew. The actors like Janet Leigh. She was a top-billed actress. Anthony Perkins was in demand at that time. A lot of stage work. So both of these actors were pretty famous at the time and took a fraction of their set, like 25% of what they normally would have taken. I think Janet Leigh was definitely a higher-paid actress. She would probably normally get like $100,000 per film, and she took a quarter of that for Alfred Hitchcock. And basically the studio still didn't want to pay. No. So he pretty much paid for it with his own money and just said to, the studio, you just distribute it, because that's what you need. You need a studio to kind of distribute your movie, to get it out there. But he pretty much paid for this. And I think he just took, he didn't get a fee. He just took a percentage of the negative or whatever, which ended up, this is a huge movie. This became huge, it was re-released 2-3 times in theaters, and it's always been a moneymaker. Every time it's come out on video or they've cleaned it up or something, or it's on TV. When it was first on TV, they cut it up a little bit.
Yeah, how can it not? I mean, going right into Bates Motel too, which he hasn't seen. I think that's an excellent series if you haven't watched it. What's really good about Bates Motel is Freddie Highmore, who plays Norman Bates. His character Ted is just awesome. I mean,
does he try to channel Norman a little bit, or Perkins a bit?
Oh, exactly. I mean, if you were to think of a
does he walk around eating candy corn?
No, but he's just as
Freddie. You got to walk around and eat candy corn.
If you were to take Anthony Perkins as a young man, this is him. I mean, he's just you got to see him just to know. I mean, he's got that psychotic look to his eyes. how infatuated he is with his mother in the show is just unbelievable character. I'd say just
how long do you think
him
they can sustain it? I mean, until they get to the point where he has to offer at some point.
Well, like anything, they're veering off in the storyline and stuff like that because, you know, if they're going to go season after season because it is a popular show,
right?
You know? But just I'm throwing that out there just as him as Norman Bates is great. Even I forget Vera whatever the name of the mother he plays.
She's good too.
She's good too, yeah. Okay. And so it's a good show on its own, I think.
Do they keep the same style of the house, or is that
different?
Oh
yeah, no, the style, okay. Yeah.
Because that house still exists. It's part of I think Universal Studios tour.
Right.
People go and see. I think out in California.
Yeah.
You know, it's still there. It still exists. I mean, and the thing is, you know, it just goes to show studio executives sometimes are afraid to put out some kind of a movie.
Yeah.
You know, we did Freaks a few weeks ago. No one wanted to touch it, and whereas it took Freaks a long time to kind of get popular, this right out the door, people loved this.
Yeah. And ever since,
you know, and it is. It's what. Without this, you don't get a lot of what you like right now.
Right.
Okay. So you know you got to show some respect for what was, and come on, kids. Just because a movie's in black and white don't mean it's bad.
No, of course not.
They did make a couple of sequels. They, I don't know if he had anything to do with it, but they certainly waited till Alfred Hitchcock passed away. They made 3 sequels.
Yeah.
I've only seen Psycho 2, which I remember, and we'll talk about a little bit as we near the end. Psycho 2 actually isn't bad. It's actually not bad. I don't remember 3. I may have seen it, and I know I definitely didn't see 4. 4 was a made-for-cable movie. It was like on Showtime. It wasn't even like in a theater.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
And it kind of shows.
Yeah,
it's got a little bit of Anthony. He directed it. He's got a little bit of Anthony Perkins, and it kind of like goes back with another actor playing him as a younger version, and you know you find out the backstory, kind of like what happens in Bates Motel.
Okay.
So there's that.
Cool.
But I remember, you know, if you like Psycho 2 actually isn't bad. It's got a few of the same characters from the original. And it kind of goes in that direction again, and excuse me, and you actually feel a little bad for Norman in the second one, a little bit more than in the first one, because he's actually trying to be well in the second one. So, but this is the kind of movie where you could just leave it at the end of the first one, and it just that last moment with him sticks with you.
And that's what good about Bates Motel too. I mean, you really feel sorry for the Norman Bates character. I mean, you really do. I mean, he doesn't know what's going on. Why is this happening? Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't think they focus in so much on what his mother has done to him, like, you know, the Psycho and the Ed Gein and stuff like that. But on its own, I think it stands pretty good, and his character is really good.
Cool.
But anyways, the movie.
Right. That's the backstory. Now, the movie proper, which 1960 takes place in Phoenix.
Yep.
Arizona, and they're nice to tell you it's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
And basically we were introduced to our lead actress's name, Janet. Yeah. What's her name in this movie? Mary, right? Isn't it Mary?
I do believe so.
Mary, maybe?
Yeah, you know, I can't remember.
Her Janet Leigh's character. And that's another thing, too. It starts off, this is 1960, and... You know, it starts off with them in bed together, a single bed. She's in her bra, and you can tell that they have just finished up some monkey business.
Yeah, she's busty.
Yeah,
you know.
So that was pushing a little bit there as well.
Back then they had the 50s. You know, those bras were like pointed.
Yeah.
It's like
torpedoes
missiles,
like
armor. You know,
it's just the style back then. You know,
hammer and chisel to get it off. Come on, man.
No. And he's not married, she's not married. They just, you know, I think he's like a traveling type salesman, and she met him in town.
He works at a hardware store, right?
Right, or maybe for some reason maybe he
later
has to come
on they show
Phoenix.
him. Yeah.
That's right.
And they're just
she'd love to get married, and you know he doesn't want to because he can't really provide that much for her. So you know what, you're gonna live in the back room of a hardware store or something like that.
I can give you nuts and bolts.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think that's what he just gave her, like, before the movie started. Nuts and bolts.
Exactly.
So she's got to get back to work on her lunch hour. You know, they're at, like, one of those seedy, you know, pay-by-the-hour motels, and she's got to get back to work. So she gets back to work. She works at a real estate office.
Right.
And
business transaction.
Right.
Right before she when she walks in, you see this is where you get, because Alfred Hitchcock always makes an appearance in his movies.
Right. It's
he's
not
right
very obvious, but it's there.
Yeah, he's right outside that door with the hat on.
Yep.
And it looks like the same hat that the business guy comes in the next few seconds later with.
Yeah.
He could have handed it off to him and put it on his.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock kind of does. He kind of started that. Mel Brooks always made an appearance in his films.
Right.
Peter Jackson almost always makes an appearance in his movies.
Yeah.
I think that all comes from Alfred Hitchcock. He kind of,
started that thing. Yeah.
Right. It was the kind of thing everybody looked for. I love the one in. Is it The Birds? Where he's going to get on the bus and the door closes and he can't get on. He just turns and walks away.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
It's either that one or North by Northwest. I can't remember which one, but it's kind of funny. A little chuckle there. She's a little late getting back, but then the boss comes in with a high roller Texas kind of guy, and he's buying a house for his daughter for her wedding gift, $40,000 cash.
And he comes right out and says,
just waving it around,
and he basically says, I don't pay no taxes on this stuff. I'm skimming from the government, and all that stuff.
Yeah, because she says something,
and he's flirting with her the whole time at the desk. Hey, you could come with me. He's just flirting, just trying to get into her, and
flapping that wad right in front of her face.
Like
the whole
this
time.
is what you got coming to you if you come to me, whatever.
So her boss kind of wants her to immediately take this as too much money to leave in the office over the weekend. It's a Friday afternoon. She already tells her boss, "Hey, I've got a headache. Can I get out of here after, when this is done?" He says, "Go stop at the bank. Put that in the bank first, and because I don't want it in the office overnight."
Right.
So, so then she leaves and goes to her apartment.
Yep.
And she's packing a suitcase, and we see on the bed the envelope with all that money in there. She never went to the bank.
You gotta remember, I'm sure most people know Alfred Hitchcock, all the cinematography, the camera angles and stuff like that. Are just really, really cool. There's a couple of really cool scenes in here. Oh, and
the most famous scene, the shower scene, which we'll get to later in this movie, it took a week to do that because of all the camera angles, different shots. A week of her being in the shower. And I don't think like 8 hours straight or anything, but a week to get that scene how he wanted it.
Yeah, he's OCD, so yeah.
That's the thing with some of these, there's a handful of filmmakers out there that are true artists.
Right.
I've said Chaplin, I've said Kubrick.
You gotta Hitchcock get it just right to what they vision in their
head is. And sometimes, like I know like what I've read about Kubrick, it's there in his head, but he'll make you do it, 180 times until he gets that one little nuance that he wants. And sometimes they don't know it till they see it, but... Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like they don't know much, but they know what they like. And
well, I
so think that's how the genius mind works in film.
Exactly.
But then I would say there's Woody Allen, but he just let's go. There's also a genius in that too.
Oh yeah,
get what you want and go.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, everybody's got their own artistry. Yeah.
Woody's genius is in his writing.
Exactly. There you go.
He's not the most out there director, but it's his writing.
That guy's been at the
typewriter. I know. I watched that documentary about him and that old typewriter.
Forever.
They showed like a drawer he's got with just little scraps of paper with little ideas on them. He's like, when I don't know what to do, I'll just pull an idea out. And,
Can you imagine being at the typewriter for 8 hours a day almost your whole life? I mean, something drives him. But anyways, Well, what happens is the character, she's got that money.
Right.
And she's loading up the suitcase and stuff, and her idea is to take off, get out of here. I got $40,000.
And I love when she's leaving town, she pulls to a red light, and her boss and that high roller are walking right by. Oh. And he looks, and her boss sees her. Yeah. Sees her right in the face. And freaks her out.
He's like, I thought you had a headache. Yeah.
She's heading out of town.
Yeah, she's getting lost. And the facial expression she's got, she's like, oh my God, I got caught.
It's not going to take them long to figure out, something stinks in Denmark. And so she's on the road.
She's taking off.
Yeah, she's in her car. She's on the road. She gets she doesn't get pulled over. She falls asleep on the side of the road, pulls over and sleeps. And that gets a little creepy, that police officer. Yeah, but she totally acts guilty or suspicious of something.
Oh, yeah. She can't hide what she's doing, that's for sure.
Yeah, she has no poker face. She thinks she's, paranoid that she's already being...
The cop pulls up, wakes her up in the car, and asks her, is everything all right, basically? And she's like, but then she starts acting nervous and everything else. And he's
as soon as she starts saying, I'm in a hurry and you're wasting my time.
Yeah. Well, and he goes,
like right there, they're going to keep you longer.
She goes, does it look like something's wrong with? And he goes, yeah, it actually does, because her facial, she looks nervous as heck,
Yeah, so I guess I can't blame the officer for tailing her the rest of the way.
Right, because she's taking the car.
Yeah, she decides to ditch the car.
Yeah.
Exchange the car.
And she says, she picks one out, and she says, I'll take it.
Yeah, whatever, I'll take that one.
He goes, okay, I'll take the car and $700. She goes, okay, that's fine. He goes, wow, that was easy.
Yeah, the customer high pressuring the salesman.
So everything is just like, she's guilty, man. Something's going on with this woman.
Even the officer comes, the officer kind of pulls up across the street from the,
and he's
from the dealership.
I like how she's staring at her.
He's just standing there
watching.
His
hands folded, staring at her.
I mean, the jig is up. He knows she's switching cars.
She shouldn't have even switched cars. She wasted like $800 right there or something. Or $700, but anyways.
Well, I think the idea is that she, her boss is going to know she left town. When he comes in Monday and finds out that money wasn't there, he's going to know that she left with it.
Right.
Then everybody knows what kind of car she drives. At least, when they call the police, they won't be looking for her car.
Right.
So she switches cars. That officer does pull into the dealership and kind of... He doesn't really get involved. I think he talks to the
They just show them all, like, walking their 2 steps as she pulls away, like... Huh,
I mean, because she hasn't broken any laws, but she is acting very suspicious.
Right.
So she gets in that car, drives away, and does the officer say anything to the salesman? I can't recall.
No, they just basically walk up as she's driving away. They don't say a single thing.
So if they have a conversation, happens off screen or we can't see.
Yeah.
So she's driving through the night.
Yeah, and it starts raining. And it's hard to see, and the vehicles, she's getting tired, going down the road, and she...
And we get there, right?
Ends up pulling off, you see the big Bates Motel sign there.
Such a cool scene. When you finally see that house up on the hill, and you don't see it right away, but when you do, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like the house itself is a character.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I love the Bates Motel, the new series. I mean, it's... I want to live in that house so bad.
But that takes place in modern time, right?
Right, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little different in that respect.
Right.
Not that it really affects the story at all.
No, just a different spin.
Sometimes I just think as soon as you start introducing cell phones and stuff into things, it's harder to tell a story like this because, all that technology is traceable.
Right.
And cars have GPSs in them now.
Well,
and stuff
Bates
like
Motel is way before any of this really kind of happens, except for the father dying. But they put their own spin on that too.
They'd be able to find those cars like that, and stuff like that. So that's what I have. In this day and age, it's hard to kill people, guys.
Yeah.
Just ask him.
Yep. It's not easy. But anyway, she pulls up. She just gets the Bates Motel. She goes in the office and she's nobody there.
Right, and she looks up at the house, and we see that view of the house, and you see what looks like a woman walk by the window, and you actually get a good look at her. Looks like a woman.
Looks like a woman. Yeah.
So that's going to be our introduction to Mother. So for all you people that watch Bates Motel and you've cheated and not watched Psycho, that's Mother.
And you'll hear her talking throughout
Great
this whole
voice.
movie.
And that same woman does the voice in at least the second and third one.
Okay.
Too, because you don't see Mother. You hear Mother, but you don't see Mother.
Well, you see her when he takes,
Oh, yeah.
But the voice, it's like you can hear... They make it sound like she can hear from down by the office all the way up the hill to the house.
Yeah, that part's a little
weird, but anyways, I mean,
I'm not really buying that part.
No, but adds to the effect of the movie, so.
But we get introduced to Norman Bates. He comes out of the house, and he must have caught sight of her headlights.
Yes.
And headlights on the car. And he comes, running down to the...
Just caught that.
Yeah.
Bazungas!
to the hotel, and she wants a room, so he pulls out the register, and I think
she gives a lay alias, but
she calls herself Marcy Samuels. Sam Loomis is the name of her boyfriend.
Right.
Where do we remember him from, kids?
Sam Loomis. No.
Dr. Loomis.
Oh,
Halloween.
duh. Okay, duh.
Dr. Samuel Loomis.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah,
I told you, the guys that make the movies you like, they like these movies.
Exactly.
Told you that. So, that's where that comes from. And so she changes her first instead of Mary, I think it's Marcy.
Right.
So yeah, he's being all kind of nice to her.
And his character right off the bat is just so...
It's perfect. It's
childish.
So good. Yeah.
So naive.
He's like the good boy, the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
And
gotta love it. You know.
Oh, you know what? I wanted to say something else. The music that plays at the beginning of the film, it's that real screeching violin. And it did remind me, I'm not a huge fan of the Jason franchise.
Okay.
But I think that's really reminiscent of like the Kill music when Jason's in Kill something.
Yeah.
Just those screeching violins.
Yes.
I think that someone paid a little tribute there for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got real distinctive music when you hear it, and I think the Friday the 13th films kind of paid tribute to that. I'm not going to say stole unless they paid tribute.
Oh, that's why McFarlane brung out the movie franchise, the movie Maniac figures,
right?
Which I
which
have
got
some of here.
Here.
I don't have Norman Bates out. I got him somewhere.
Yeah, he used to have him. I remember.
Well, his arm broke off easy. McFarlane's earlier toys.
God, you remember when we used to chase after these figures?
Oh my God!
I've sold all mine. I've got kids now, and I just don't have space for these things. He's got a whole room down here. I
switched it up again, so I got some Silent Screamers.
Yeah, you and I, we used to chase after these things, and especially like the Star Wars Power of the Force figures. I mean,
there's some good.
I remember wasting a whole Friday. I'd get paid, and I would go from store to store to store to store. Spend my whole day after class, whatever,
finding the figures, because
looking for figures.
There'd be lines out the door to get to the right figures. People would go in, they would hide them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
I gotta tell a story because this is great. I had a girlfriend at the time. You knew her, but when the Power of the Force, the Star Wars figures first came out, the ones where it looked like Luke and Han were using a solo flex. They were all big and.
I remember.
There were a couple figures that were hard to find. One of them was C-3PO. You couldn't find him anywhere. And, went to Toys R Us and they didn't have any. So I asked my girlfriend at the time, because she was with me, I was like, go find one of the guys working around here and ask them if they have one.
Right.
And so she did. She asked, I'm looking for a figure. You don't have it. He came out with a whole box, opened it up, and said, which one do you need? And I just stepped right up. I need that one and that one. And
I remember you telling me about that.
Because they were just hiding them in back. I mean,
yes.
They were creating scarcity. So, I remember Lando was hard to find. There was always that one that you couldn't find anywhere.
Guys would get jobs at Toys R Us over here where we live, just
right.
So they had first dibs on
you used to live
figures.
in the apartment right across from a Toys R Us, and he could see when the trucks were coming in. But I think I remember Tuesdays or Wednesdays. That's when they put the new ones on, and you knew who knew.
Oh yeah,
who was there, because there's always a line before you go in. It was people were either going for the Hot Wheels cars, or they were going for figures. And
yes, and it was usually the Star Wars were the big things back then.
Right,
but it was hard to find certain.
Because that was the dead period. That was 94, 95, before the special editions came out.
Yeah,
and it was just the dark period, and it's hey, there's new Star Wars stuff.
Awesome.
Then the special editions came out, and we started getting more figures and.
Yeah, before you know it, we got 300 different Star Wars figures. Not to mention, Star Trek had just about as many anyways, too, yeah. But anyways, we're veered off of this movie.
Right, just getting on the toys
anyways,
here. I'm talking about toys.
Well, Norman gives her the room number one.
Number one, right next to the office.
Yeah, and that's for a reason, because he's got a parlor in the back, and that's where he's got his little peephole, and it goes directly to the shower.
Right, Norman's a little bit of a pervert. And, he offers to make her a sandwich.
Brings her back to the parlor.
But when he goes up to the house to make it, she can hear Mother.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was plain as day.
Because he was going to have her come up to the house to eat. And
could be that sound traveling down to the...
So, she could, blatantly hear Mother talking in the house. And it's raining.
But
that part's a little bit of a stretch. Yeah. Because when he comes back, she's like, I'm afraid I got you in trouble. And
because Mother was up there... reaming him out.
And I gotta say, Anthony Perkins is just so great in this film. I mean, and he was kind of typecast after this, but I mean, after such a great, I don't know. I mean, there's some actors that get kind of typecast. You figure the guy that played Tony Soprano. I mean, it's even though he's passed away now, it's so hard to see him in anything else.
Well, exactly. That's what.
But even though I have, and he's been good in other things.
Yeah.
But I think that's when you have created at least one character that is so good.
I mean, Peter Griffith in Family Guy, he can't get a job doing anything anymore, but that job, So. I know what you mean.
Or, like when David Duchovny did, Fox Mulder. I mean, when you make a character that's so great and so believable, like Anthony Perkins does with Norman Bates, I don't know. I just think that it's a big compliment. Like, you did this so well, that we don't want to see you do anything else. But I know as an actor you want to do other things.
Exactly.
But he's just,
Poor
I can't
guy.
imagine
but yeah, I mean,
anyone else doing this.
Oh, no.
I guess there's this young kid in the TV show now that's pretty good, but
yeah.
He's so good at playing that schoolboy kind of, a boy's best friend is his mother.
And, how he defends his mother in this movie too is just so.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I love when they go into the parlor for her to have her meal. This is probably my favorite part of the movie, just the conversation that they have.
Right.
Because there's a little bit of back and forth. They start off kind of nice.
Yeah, she
makes a little comment that gets him a little agitated. She kind of brings it around to what she meant, and he's okay. And he admits a few things, and I really love this scene. It's probably not a scene that a lot of people pick as their favorite, but this is my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, definitely. This is where it all goes down, and she's
almost motherly to him in some ways.
Yeah,
she's kind to him.
This is where she makes that decision, I think, to go back.
Right. After talking to Norman, she's decided this isn't worth it. What I'm doing here. She's embezzling money from her company, and God, we're both so nasally here. Sorry.
Hey, what are we gonna do?
I was gonna shoot up some Afrin before I came in, but I didn't.
Yeah, I'm stuffy as heck, man.
You use Afrin?
Oh well, no, I don't.
Oh man, it opens it all the way, man. Just
saline solution.
I use that too, but man, at night I gotta sleep. I can't sleep like this.
No.
But yeah, he talks. He's into taxidermy. It sounds like he doesn't have much of a life. He's just taking care of his mother. She's sick.
I like how he defends himself. Like it's not that I don't got nothing else to do. This doesn't take up all of my time.
Just what he does.
But it does, yeah.
And she mentions, would it be easier to put your mother someplace? And that right there sets him off. Have you seen those mental institutions? Put my mother there, and
he gets
but she kind of brings it around that you made it sound like she's being mean to you. I was just trying to help. I didn't mean to be hurtful.
Right.
And that kind of brings him back down, and they're doing something that he doesn't do very often. It's having an adult conversation.
Right. With another person. Yeah.
Right, and she is being kind to him, and because of that, he's attracted. He's certainly attracted to her. And because of this infatuation he has on his mother, that's not going to bode too well for her. So yeah, she excuses herself after she eats, goes to her room, she's going to have a shower, and
cleaning up.
And Norman, he takes that. He's got a picture on the wall, takes it down. His wall's all chipped away, and then there's a little.
Always wondered how nobody ever. The first thing I look for in a hotel room is hey, there's a hole in that wall. Somebody's looking at me from the other room, but.
I don't know.
Earlier on, when she does, she unpacks and everything, she does take the money out and wraps it in a newspaper and put it on the sideboard.
Like on the side table.
Yeah, which comes in.
And then while she's talking to her, she does make the decision that she's got to get up early in the morning. She's going back to Phoenix. She's decided to, I think the idea was to take this money, go to where her boyfriend Sam is, and kind of give them a start on a new life. They can go live on an island somewhere like Elvis. And
like Elvis, yeah. So that's where he's at.
But so yeah, he goes back to the house after he kind of peeks on her a little bit, and we come up upon the famous shower scene. Basically, I mean, there's not much else before that.
Yeah, I mean, she pretty much starts to write down all the numbers,
Yeah, and this was another thing
that I can,
She's doing some figuring, what she
spent the $700 plus the hotel,
right. And she throws the scrap. She rips it up, throws it in the toilet. This was something that they had a bad time with in the movie because they had never shown someone using a toilet and flushing a toilet in a movie before.
Huh.
And they had issues with that. They had issues with just a toilet. Like it was, a toilet that's offensive or whatever.
So prude back then.
It's just different time.
Just a toilet.
Again, movies weren't as, I don't know. It was just a bigger deal. Like when a movie came out, it was a big deal.
You could tell it was a real old toilet too. I mean, scuff marks.
I like when the idea when movies were traveling shows, maybe not Psycho, but like something like, Fantasia, or It's a Mad World. It would go from town to town. It was a big deal. You bought tickets in advance. You got dressed up. It was a thing.
Yeah.
It's just different than it is now. They're trying to, I think, with buying tickets and having assigned seating and crap like that. But so yeah, the famous shower scene.
Yes,
it's been copied in all your favorite TV shows and cartoons, and
I've even done it in my shower.
Right. This is how he got rid of his first wife.
But shoot. Anyways, yeah, and
don't pay attention to that last comment.
She's showering and stuff, and of course you see Norman, and well, it's not Norman. It's got the wig. He's dressed like his mother, and whatever. And it comes up.
Mother comes down
with
a big old butcher knife, and even the sound.
Beep, beep. Oh yeah, that sound.
Which I think they used like a melon. They took a knife and recorded sounds of the knife going into a melon.
Yes, you can hear it definitely going in. It
stabbed several times. You don't see her nude or anything.
No,
but it's a lot of edits.
You could tell how it took that long to actually do that shower scene.
I mean, you figure they probably had. I think I got like 6 different scenes there, so they probably had cameras all over the place filming the whole thing, and then what do you use to make it the most dramatic? And
because that knife is coming down in so many different spots and stuff like that,
and you see a hand like scratching on the tiles a little bit, hand grabbing the
shower
curtain, pulling it all down,
and then her head flops onto the ground,
and then you see the drain, the blood going down the drain.
And wasn't it like chocolate syrup or something?
Which is another reason why they chose to do black and white, using actual blood. Making it look real red blood would have been a little bit hard at that time to.
Just chocolate syrup
to get approved
the blood,
to release. So yeah, the little chocolate syrup looked nice and dark like blood, swirling down the drain, and then I love the last scene. Her face is just on the tile.
Yeah, how it hit on the tile.
Yeah, like outside the tub, laying on the tile.
And the camera comes from the eyeball.
Yep.
Out, showing her head. And
and it just pans all the way to like where the newspaper with the money is. Just to remind you of that, and then away again, and then we're gonna have the house. Like the doors open or the window, whatever there, and then the house. Just one movement of the camera through there. And it's just so awesome. We see Norman comes running
down, yeah.
His reaction when he comes in there is that his mother did this, and he's going to do what a good son does.
He's upset. He's like scared. He's holding his face. He's going, "Oh my God,
mother, no!"
Yeah,
looking like she's done this before, and he's got to clean it up again, which he does. He mops up all the blood, cleans everything up.
Yep.
Now, these days you'd have to use some ammonia, so even if they got samples, they couldn't use any of it.
Oh, yeah. And if they went back there 50 years later, they'd still probably find some blood.
Right.
Again,
soap and water ain't going to wash it away these days.
Whatever that stuff is called.
Use ammonia. That's what he told me. And yeah, he takes her car, backs it up, wraps her up.
Till this day. Okay.
Yeah, gets her all her belongings.
Puts it all in the trunk.
Including, I believe, the newspaper that has the
$40,000. He takes it, throws it in the trunk. If he only knew.
Yep. And
that really got me in this movie, man. I'm like,
man, $40,000. Didn't that paper feel kind of thick when you picked it up?
Yeah, wouldn't you have at least?
But who would have thought?
I know.
I mean, when you're disposing of a dead body, you're not thinking about open up the paper and looking at the sports page. But he gets everything pretty much, spit spot, and gets her body in the trunk, gets her belongings in the trunk.
Takes it to the swamp.
Which I always thought was like it's like a tar pit, I think, right? That's how I always thought it.
They call it a swamp at the end of the movie. Yeah.
It looks like a tar pit to me.
It looks like, tar pit, quicksand
Where are
type
the La Brea
area.
tar pits at? Are those in California?
I think so. I'm not sure.
And
anyways,
yeah. So he pushes and I do love that part.
Yeah,
he pushes the car in, and it doesn't go all the way at first.
It stops where the head, top of the car,
the hood,
and then he looks
down.
Yeah, then it starts
and eventually you hear
and he goes,
gurgling.
Yeah.
So pardon me. Then I think after that, and see, now that's another thing about this film too. That's pretty much concludes the first act of the film. Janet Leigh was a huge star.
Yeah.
You kill her off in the first. Before the first hour of this movie is almost 2 hours, and you kill her off before the first hour of the movie, and she's gone. There aren't any more big stars in the movie really after this, so that was another thing too. And so then I think the next scene starts with you see some woman writing a letter,
right,
to Mary. I think I was saying Mary. It's Marion that Janet Leigh's character was, and it's her sister who's now. It's been like a week. No one has heard from her. And her sister's kind of like on the hunt for, and I can't remember her sister's name now.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. But Marion's sister. But I've seen this movie like half a dozen times. I can't remember her name.
We've got colds, so our minds aren't particularly sharp tonight. But anyways,
cold medicine makes things neat.
Yeah. But anyways, all these people are trying to get her back too. Even the boss is saying, try to find her, get her back. They went to her
private eye. She's not there. They got a private eye looking for her. He's following the sister.
Yeah. Well, he goes to the hardware store where
she comes
her
in
boyfriend
first,
and the sister, and he spots them both together.
Right. She comes in first, asks for Sam, starts saying, what's going on? Where is she? And
she even asks him
if you're mixed up in this.
Let me know.
No clue what's going on. He has no idea. I don't know if she believes him at first.
Right.
But, she even says, like her boss is they just want the money back. She's not in trouble. Just give the money back.
Yeah.
And right. And then,
please, you bring the money back.
You see this shady guy in a hat looking through the window, and this is a guy named Arbogast.
Yeah, Arbogast.
Weird name, but you can't forget that one. And he's a private eye, and he just pops in, and he starts asking the questions. Where's she at? I mean, he knows just like, I know she's not here, but
he's a straight shooter.
Yeah, asking a lot of questions, trying to find things out. Because they figure, he's probably got her hid somewhere, $40,000, a lot of money. So, he convinces them, I think, that, that Sam Loomis convinces them that he doesn't know what's going on. So
he says he'll start. I think he says he starts kind of believing him. He says he's going to start scouring the city.
Right, he hits up all the hotels.
Says she's probably here. If her boyfriend's here, she's probably here.
Right.
So hits all the hotels.
So he's hitting all the hotels and
gets to Bates.
Works his way to Bates and Bates. He even makes a comment that, I almost passed the place up. Well, Norman doesn't have the light on.
Right.
And I think a lot of times that's because he just wants to keep people away.
Yeah.
And
he says, "Oh yeah, I'm so used
to this
to
is an awesome part here too.
This is their conversation together.
Oh, his back and forth with this guy is
because he's nonstop. He's digging at him with a knife, man.
Right,
picking at him.
Norman's starting to crack a little bit.
Yeah, he can't hold it together.
Because the first thing he said, Norman will say, no, there hasn't been anybody here in a couple of weeks, and then he slips and says somebody, was here a few days ago.
Couple was here, yeah.
They made notice that I didn't even have the lights on the sign, and the guy's like, oh, well, wait, you said it's been a couple of weeks, and now you say, a couple of days ago somebody's here. And, look at the picture again. He's got the picture of her, and he's looking.
Oh, okay, I do remember her.
I remember
it was raining, her hair was down, and,
Right. She came in, she got a room.
And he's just going,
then they find out, then he digs a little bit more, finds out, they had a meal together in the back room there and talked to her. And,
yeah, I mean, at first he didn't know her, and now he's giving up information that they ate food.
Right.
They did, so yeah.
He asks to check the register, and he's like, oh, I don't even, let people sign that anymore. It's
and I like how he's like chewing while he's looking down over the...
Yeah, and he sees the name, the Marcy Samuels. And,
and the detective says, Sam.
That's her boyfriend's name, Marcy, close enough.
Yeah.
So, he's catching, he definitely doesn't trust Norman. I think he even makes mention of his mother.
Right.
And he's like, oh, well, can I talk to her? She might have, some little detail. You know how these, cop types think. Even he's not a police officer, he's a private eye, but that's their job to ask questions, those probing questions. And you ask them fast like that, you're going to get somebody to trip up, and Norman trips up. So he kind of just wants the guy to leave.
And he wanted to go up there, and he said, well, I think you should leave now,
Right.
So that's when he ends up, saying, okay, basically I'll be back,
Right, he goes to make a phone call.
Yeah.
Basically saying that he's calling the sister. I believe you. I don't think Loomis had anything to do with this.
She's at Bates Motel.
Right. He's going to start suspecting Norman. Norman sounds a little cagey. Yeah. The way that he's backing up on his story here.
Bumbling around.
Right. Yeah. So he says to Norman, I guess if I want to get up in the house talk to your mother, I'm going to need a warrant, right? And or check these rooms.
Right.
Because I think he watches Norman because he was about to change the linens. And he wanted, the guy even says, can I go check these rooms?
Right.
He's like, sure. And he goes up to the door one,
right,
where she was, doesn't quite touch the handle, goes to the next one.
Yeah, so...
That tells him right there, something's in that room.
Yep.
So he calls, when he's on the phone with the sister, says, I'll see you in about an hour and a half. You know, I'll drive back out there and work on getting a warrant and find out what's going on.
3 hours later. But in the meantime, yeah.
But then he kind of hangs back a little bit and decides, he's going to get up to the... Is Norman in the office, or...
He checked the office. He wasn't in there.
Right, so he decides he's going to go up to the house.
I think when he pulled up, you seen Norman shoot off to one of the other rooms. So I don't know what he was doing, but... Yeah, Arbogast
goes
up to the house.
He's going to try to,
opens
question
the
mother,
door,
look around.
goes up, yeah.
And he starts going up the steps.
This is a great classic scene.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, if you're not expecting it, I've seen this before, so I know when the jumps are going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, this is where these movies got this stuff from. That, right out of nowhere, someone coming with a knife.
Well, there's just a camera scene. I mean...
Oh, the great camera.
He's looking around and stuff, and he sees the staircase. Mom's going to be upstairs. So he starts walking up the staircase, and the effects that they use, as he's walking up the staircase, it looks like everything in the background is blurred and, focused in.
Yeah, it's a cool way of, I think, using a special type lens where you stay focused on the one guy and then the other guy, what's in the background, gets unfocused.
Yeah.
There's a different... You'll see that in a lot of movies.
Makes it look very weird and odd.
A lot of movies will be someone in the foreground and what's in the background is unfocused, and then you'll see, when the focus goes on that person, it switches. What's in the foreground gets blurry. But then you see...
The door's opening really slow as he's walking up the step from Mom's room.
Awesome.
And
Mother.
Yeah, so when he hits the top of the step, Mother comes plowing out and just
Butcher knife
starts hacking at him.
And just the fall back is awesome.
Awesome scene too, yeah. It's all that blurry.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's actually kind of walking down the steps, because that's what it looks like towards the end, he's backpedaling down the steps.
Yeah, very
but
weird.
But it looks
scene.
like it's like a what do they call it? Almost like a steady cam. I don't know if they had steady cams in, where you wear the little camera on you.
It's right with him.
And just to get, and that effect when he's going backwards.
I think he had the same effect in Vertigo when Jimmy Stewart
Vertigo had some awesome, yeah.
So same kind of camera stuff going on there.
Right. Hitchcock made tons of movies. Definitely you got to see Psycho.
Stuff is really good too.
Yeah.
Strangers on a Train. Awesome movie. More film noirish, but definite. Well, suspense.
Shadow of a Doubt, which is also a little bit about a serial killer as well.
Yes.
A lot of people like The Birds. It doesn't have a resolution to it. To kind of, you never really know exactly why the birds are doing what the birds are doing. Yeah. North by Northwest is an awesome mistaken identity movie.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of just ends abruptly, unfortunately, but a lot of movies back then did.
Yeah.
And what else is a great movie? Vertigo, Rear Window.
Rear Window, I love that movie. I love the effects Jimmy Stewart's just up in his apartment the whole movie.
Right.
Looking through his telescope.
Because he's got a busted leg.
Yeah, and the telescope goes to this apartment complex
where he thinks he sees a man murder his wife.
Right, and he sees everybody's lives going on. They're just off, which was meant to be Alfred Hitchcock. Just his vision with all the the way he shows the life of everybody in those apartments. Just
when you have no life and you're just watching everybody else's.
And I love how he shows up just walking by the alley into one scene. But anyways, that's another movie to watch too. Awesome movie.
I'd say those right there are the best ones.
Yes.
The ones that we just rattled off there. Those are my favorites. But, he's got tons of other movies. And there's several box sets of DVDs and Blu-rays you could check out. But he's a filmmaker that usually delivers. I mean, he's got duds too. I think all our favorite filmmakers do. But
exactly.
But
what happens? We'll get back. I'm sorry, I'm rushing here.
So we're back at the hardware store.
He takes care of the
body again.
Private eye, puts it in a car.
Another car in the swamp.
Yeah, so he takes that to the swamp again. So he gets rid of all of his stuff over in the swamp, which is very convenient. Wish I had something like this way in the back of my house.
Yeah, I wish I had a tar pit or something.
To get rid of things I don't need anymore. And anyways, they do go back to
the... we're ugly some bitches.
We are stuffy and codes. I can't believe we're doing this. We didn't want to skip a day.
Nope.
We wanted to get this up.
Holidays, anything. We're doing it.
As long as we're not throwing up. We could do that too,
I'll do it too.
We can do, what's a gory movie we could do? We could watch Dead Alive and we can start throwing up. Oh, this was one of our best
That's
movies.
when you do The Exorcist.
Or that, yeah.
I hate puking in movies.
Oh my God, yes I do too.
Hate it.
I hate it in real life. What are you talking about?
But yeah, they're at the hardware store and the dude's late. Arbogast is late. It's been 3 hours. He said he'd be back in an hour or less. And
she's convincing Sam. She's like, come on, man.
We got to go check. She's really impatient, wants to know what's going on with her sister.
Yeah.
And so they decide to go and visit the sheriff.
Yeah.
And, the sheriff knows...
Sheriff's like, what do you mean? Norman Bates, the Bates Motel?
Right. He's like, Norman, he's harmless. And
yeah, he's a mother.
Yeah, because they mentioned his mother.
Yeah, his mother's there, and the private eye was trying to, investigate and talk to her.
And that's when they revealed that his mother died 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Supposedly from, she hooked up with some other guy after her husband died, and she and Norman had been together for so long. I don't know if this has happened in the TV show yet or not.
No, she's alive. She's a big part of the series, so she ain't gonna die for a while.
I think it was they made it out to be like a murder-suicide kind of thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like, arsenic or whatever. And,
arsenic, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't mess with arsenic.
No, arsenic. No, it was strychnine.
Strychnine. Yeah, don't mess with that either.
We gotta get the right poison.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah, I gotta borrow some from you before I leave.
Yeah, I got a little bit left in the one vial on the
I'll pay. I'll spot you for the bottle.
I love that cabinet that I got. But anyways,
it's a good one.
Yeah, the sheriff's not having any of it. And
he's not buying it. He's not getting out of bed for this. He's not
he's
getting
like, I'll go talk to him.
I'll go talk to him in the morning.
Yeah.
But they decide that
they do call him.
Right.
And the sheriff goes, he says, she was there. She left, basically making it sound very simple and everything's okay. And the private eye stopped by, questioned him, left too, and stuff like that. So, no reason for the sheriff to think anything's going on wrong.
Because, even like the boyfriend's first response was, did you call the hospitals and stuff like that? Right. What, what the sister and Sam Loomis think and what the private eye thought is that, Norman's the one that offed her and stole that $40,000. Yeah. Maybe to open up another hotel or something like that. So
that's what the sheriff's basically saying, ain't he?
Right. Well, I don't think he's not buying that. Because he knows Norman. He's not buying it. That's what everyone else thinks. That's what the private eye, the sister, and Sam Loomis think.
Right.
So when the sheriff's not going to do anything, they decide to go up there and check it out for themselves. And they're going to go up there.
Yeah, and she's basically on a mission. Her sister. Right, I wish I knew her name. Man. But anyways, her and Sam.
I just watched it today.
Yeah, they do go up there. They register. They get a room, and
right. And
he's questioning. He's going, "We don't got no luggage," and he goes, "He's not having them sign in."
Right.
He's not
all the
doing
things
anything.
that usually happen at a hotel.
And Sam is questioning him like, "Shouldn't we sign in? I want a receipt."
He's like, "No, it's okay.
My company pays for this."
Right. He wanted a receipt because he wants to look at the register. Right. He wants to see.
They're trying to get as much information as they can.
Because also the private eye had a sample of Marion's handwriting, and so he recognized it.
Yeah.
Looking at that, he wants and then he has to pay up front for the luggage, and I guess if you didn't have luggage, you had to pay up front, and they said
because they might just come in and do their little ditties, and it happened even back then, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then, hey, let's take off.
Yeah, take off and not pay.
You gotta get your money up front.
I don't know what difference it made if you had luggage though.
Yeah, I bet you were going to stay, I guess. But
you might have some luggage for your your toys, your cuffs and stuffs.
Yeah, your bondage material. Anyways,
I need my cuffs back, by the way.
Oh, jeez. Your gag ball.
Yeah, and my butt plug too.
Oh no. I haven't used that in a while. Gives me hemorrhoids.
Hope he cleaned it.
Oh, jeez.
It's great for hemorrhoids.
Oh my god.
Loosens them up a little bit.
Anyways, what the heck we talking about? We're hallucinating now. This guy right here is going. What are you talking about? Hemorrhoids?
Say the secret word. Win $100.
Where you from Wisconsin?
up there.
You're from Wisconsin, are you?
Dead Groucho.
Oh, I can't even do a Groucho. Can't do a Groucho voice today. I'm too stuffy. But anyways, they see the
great
sheriff.
scene. Well, they
go ahead.
The sister, she decides that she's gonna kind of investigate a little bit.
Spit it out.
She's gonna kind of investigate a little bit.
She's a private eye, right?
She's not a private eye.
She did go to school for that.
No, it's not mentioned in the movie.
Oh.
And
I read the novel of Behind the Scenes for Psycho.
Yeah, I read the novel, the fictional story.
And Alfred Hitchcock said he got her because she was going to school for private.
I'm not buying that for a second.
Okay, so that
her
didn't
private
happen.
skills are horrible. So,
but anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So what do? They talk to the sheriff again.
They talk to her at the church, and he's like, I've already stopped there because they asked, are you going to be going up there and stuff like that, and so that's that.
Right. So then they're just gonna go back up to the hotel, try to dig for a little bit more information.
Yeah.
They got their room. So they get their room. And this is the whole part. I think is this the whole part we were talking about? Yeah. When the sheriff's not going to go up there.
Yeah.
And or he says he's already talked to him.
They
decide. I kind of said it backwards.
Yeah.
They decide they're going to go up.
Flip flop.
And so this is what he was saying. He wants the receipt because he wants to see the register to see if her name's in there.
Right.
They get to the room.
They give her a room.
And he gives them one way in the back, like number 10 in the back.
So nowhere near number 1.
And she wants to kind of get up in that house and see if she can talk to Mother.
Yeah.
And find out.
Well,
anything.
he keeps Norman busy. Sam keeps Norman busy.
Right.
In the parlor.
He even goes up there and it's like,
So she can get into room number 1 too to look around.
Right.
So
right.
Or no, they both do. They both scavenge in there.
They scavenge in room 1, and that's where they find the only clue they find is that scrap of paper where she wrote some figures on.
Yes.
That was in the toilet.
I don't know how she got it from just that little piece, but she says it looks like.
It's taken from 40,000. I guess it's 40,000 and another figure.
But she really ripped it up, so
it wasn't a very big piece, but
it could have been a phone number.
No
306.
Yeah, I know.
But I get it.
No shower curtain yet on the shower. No really other clues in there.
Just the toilet, which reminds me to go to bed.
So she wants to get up
here.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez.
So she wants to get up to the house. And he decides to.
So you got to watch our podcasts all the way through, because sometimes we go off on some crazy tangents. If you know what I mean. Nevertheless.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh. So,
I know we've been talking to some people. I know they do like some shorter ones. I can't.
Oh
I can't.
God.
I couldn't do a shorter one.
No, we can't get all this in 7 minutes.
I can't.
9 minutes.
Like, I wish people would just hire us to do, like, DVD commentaries for all the movies.
There you go.
I mean, because that's kind of like what I feel like we do.
Well, I have been in talks with Steven Spielberg, wasn't it? Who got a hold of me last
week? He wanted us to do one for Amistad and Schindler's List, kind of doing it in our style. And I don't know why he backed out. I think he watched one of our episodes. What the heck did I laugh
for? I remember a joke that Mr. Steven told me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good one.
Yeah, I know.
But
he thinks he can tell the Jewish jokes because
he's a funny
Jewish.
guy. Yeah.
But
unbelievable. Schwitzka.
Yeah.
I forget what it said, but we might have something in the works there.
Yeah, it's in the hopper.
So
we doing commentaries for all the classic religious films, Ben-Hur,
I got
Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, because I do got a good Chuck Heston impression. We talked a while back there before he passed on, but
right.
Anyways,
Jack Palance, you can do it, with the little quiver at the end of everything he says. You are my number 1 guy,
Jack Palance. Anyways, okay, we're back to Psycho. She's let's see. So
she's creeping on a come up to the house.
Yes, Sam is keeping Norman busy.
Yeah,
now,
he's really going off on him too.
Like, he basically pushes him in the
he's starting to fight with him practically, talking like, where's the $40,000? Yeah, where's that dough?
We know you're doing it. Say,
where's that dough, Robert?
And she's working her way out.
Where's that dough, say?
You can't fool me. Oh, what a laughing imagine.
But yeah, that's kind of what he does. He's talking to him a little bit, and he's, yeah, so I hear you want to get a new hotel. Yeah, how much do you think it's going to cost you? About $40,000. Yeah, I mean, he's being a jerk. I mean, if you're going to get some information from him, you got to be nice.
Ted, you know when I start laughing, sometimes I can never stop.
I'm trying to get us back on target. Stay on target.
Okay, now I'm back.
All right.
Oh, my Lord. I love laughing like that, man, where you just can't stop laughing. But yeah, he's grilling him, man. He's telling him, "Yeah, I think you want to buy the hotel out and stuff like that."
Right, buy another hotel.
But I think he picks up on that. He's doing this so she can get up to the house. Right. And that's when he runs out and shoots up after her. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, because he even mentions, when he says something about his mother, and he's like, "Where's that lady friend of yours?"
Yeah.
And then he realizes
she's up in the house though, and she's go into
prying around. It's a nice house.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful rooms in this home.
She's in Bates Motel. It's actually looks like it's from, how it's like newer here.
Yeah.
Bates Motel. It's older.
Okay.
It's like run down, like where everything needs to be repaired and stuff like that. Okay. So.
Yeah, she goes into Mother's room, and just like with Ed Gein, it's all pristine.
And I love
closet full of dresses.
Because earlier, he took Mother down to the fruit cellar.
Right. We skipped over that. He took, and she's talking or whatever, and he's
saying, "You're not putting me down there again in that dusty room."
Right. He's gonna put her down in the fruit cellar. I don't,
and he
to
goes
punish her.
Yeah. And he does it anyways.
The bed, it's still got like her body crease indentation in it.
Yeah, like. Looks like it's 10. It must be a nice soft down bed because, man, it's like 10 inches deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess that's where you end up laying every night, in this spot.
Yeah, I guess, but...
And then, she works her way downstairs and sees Norman coming up. Or I think she even goes into Norman's room. Like, it looks, And his room's nothing special. It's like an old...
just like a kid's room still.
Yeah, like
you can tell that's where he lays too because the
bed's messed up and
it's got and he's sitting like he's still like a few like he's a little child yet, But I think that's
tin toys and stuff like that.
Yeah, and pacifiers and diapers. Some have already been changed and they're still sitting there and not even thrown away.
Deleted scenes.
Yeah.
What's that book she picks up and looks at? They don't show you what's in it.
It's I think it's called The Hobbit.
No, it wasn't The Hobbit. But she picks up a book and she looks at it and she almost gets like a surprised look on her face.
And she goes,
and then she and
she
then
goes
it
like
cuts
that.
back
She goes.
Well, it cuts back to Sam and Norman and. Yeah, I mean, you can tell Norman's just getting a tick going. He's tapping his finger on the table and, eating his candy corn. And,
I think you should just take going and he's pissed.
I think you should just take your girlfriend and leave, or whatever, wife, whatever. Yeah. And, so that's where he's going to say, hey, where's that lady friend here? He gets up to the house.
And that's when he basically tries to leave. The boyfriend stops him and he picks up this jar of something and smacks it over his head.
Smacks over Sam's head because he tries to keep him away from the house.
Oh, he deserved it after prying.
She's coming down the stairs.
That bad, man.
Sees him coming up the steps from outside.
And she runs down
and that's where the cellar is. The cellar steps back there.
The fruit cellar.
Right. And we're
that's where
Norman, the end, kids. This is where it's all going to come together.
That's where Norman Bates does all his taxidermy stuffing and the show, the Bates Motel.
Okay. Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. So he immediately dashes upstairs, and she continues to go downstairs and gets down the cellar, and there's the rocking chair, and you can see from behind Mother sitting in there.
You think she's there.
And she sees it and says, Mrs. Bates, and touches her on the shoulder, and it's a nice, cool, slow-mo kind of turn. The chair turns, and we see nothing but a decayed corpse wearing a dress and a wig.
Yes.
And that is Mother. And then
they go, it's very scary.
She screams. And, next thing you know, Norman's coming down there in a dress, wig, and a knife.
I like how he ran up to the room and got dressed in the dress and the wig, and as Mother, because that's basically who he is, in his psyche, and comes running down. And I love when he breaks through that door. Yeah, and he just looks so eerie in that dress.
Crazed.
Transvestite
He's not a transvestite.
No, I know. I'm just throwing that out there.
But yeah,
I like to
Sam
say the
comes
word
in
transvestite,
and kind of
because I drive the boulevard every night, and there's tons of them. Just transvestites looking for a score. But anyways, whatever that was. And yeah, so Sam can't even see I got too many toys up here.
I know,
but anyways,
my Rob Lowe.
Lost
Boys.
Rob Lowe, please don't lift up your shirt.
Well, not now anyway.
And
so yeah, Sam struggles him to the ground. It kind of fades off. You see the wig on the ground. Nice final shot there. Another shot of Mother, and it's a really cool decayed kind of corpse thing. They didn't skimp.
Very cool.
It's I mean, this is it's all our senses are all deadened, and we're all conditioned to violence and stuff like that. But it wasn't like that back then. So I mean, this was a bigger deal.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah.
But it's still Alfred Hitchcock knew how to set up some suspense. He knew how to this has been done to death, so everybody knows. Kind of like Norman was the killer and dressing up, and the mother and all that. But people didn't know that when they saw this, and this was a man wearing a dress and killing people and stuff like this.
So the very ending of the movie, they actually have some guy come out and
basically
explain all of this. And
they say because all the cops are saying he wouldn't tell me anything, and he says, well, he didn't tell me anything, but his mother told me everything.
Yes,
and he starts to really kind of lay it out. It's a nice little denouement to the movie.
Yeah,
explaining
because they said the one
psychosis.
Guy, right? The one guy says he's a transvestite, and he goes, "No, she's not a trans."
Because he doesn't do it for any kind of sexual reason,
right?
They explain that Norman's the one that killed his mother,
right?
She was very domineering, and told him that all other women are bad, and so every time he, the guilt that he felt for killing his mother, every time. He would become attracted to another woman. The mother part would take over, and he'd kill the mother, and he even did the voice of her.
Yes.
Would hold conversations, and
he thought he was his mother.
Just a complete split personality that developed into this psychosis of his. So that's kind of how it all gets explained. But I really love the second to last scene of the film when you see Norman. I love
they give him a blanket.
Yeah, because the cop says, he says he's got to chill. Can I give him a blanket? And he say, yeah. And when they show the officer go into the room, hand the blanket, and it's a woman's voice you hear that says, thank you.
Yeah.
And very cool. He's just sitting there, and he slowly gets that smile, because they're all talking. You hear like the voice over, over the image say, he's insane and all that. And they even superimpose briefly, although very briefly, they superimpose Mother's corpse smile over his smile. And it just for a second, like if you're not really watching, you miss it. I
love her explanation about it all too. How it wasn't her, but she's basically saying it was him, and saying I
wasn't gonna let them, let him blame me for all those murders.
Right, you did this. You're a bad boy. You killed all these. So she. Basically blaming him still. Right. I mean, she just what a mean mother. My God.
Yeah, and then the very last scene is them pulling
I'd say that's
Marion's car out of the tar pit.
Yeah, that ends the movie.
That's the end.
Yeah.
The sequel, I mean,
that is pretty cool too. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock, man, he knows how to tell a story. That's for sure.
Part 2 is kind of cool in that.
Well, I was going to say though, in the Bates Motel series.
Oh yeah. Let's tie that in.
It's actually the opposite, where this is Mother's mean and overbearing and the mother in Bates Motel series that's on she's overbearing with him, but she's not evil, and she does nothing. She's protective of him. Mm-hmm. So which Ed Gein, this in a way,
Does she tell him like all the other women are bad?
No,
not yet.
Well, there's been a couple instances of that, but for the most part, she allows him to have boyfriends. Actually, girlfriends.
Say what?
My cold medicine kicking in.
What you talking about, Willis?
But anyways, she allows him to have girlfriends and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
That's
unexpected.
That's what I'm saying. She wants him to be normal and have whereas he's kind of flipping. And it's the same kind of dilemma he's got in his mind where he's his mother, he has these blackouts.
Yeah.
And he's killed women. Okay. So
in the show, he's already done that?
Yeah, he has done this. And I don't want to give too much away, but
so it's like he's already kind of like she's trying to
right.
Okay.
She's trying to actually save him and make him a better person, not have him go through this and stuff. That. It's an interesting, different take. That's all I'll say. I mean, it's
because in the film you definitely get it's the mother that kind of did this to him,
right?
Whereas in the show, it sounds like he was kind of already going down that path, and she's trying to save him. And
right,
okay, well, that's interesting in a way.
But
I guess.
she caters to it too, though. So I don't know. If you ever watch it, you could get your take on it.
Maybe I know it's very popular.
It is a different take.
I think I've gone on record that I don't watch any shows.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
Although I am going to go home and watch the very last Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There will be, because I'm a huge fan of that.
Scooby-Doo!
The only thing I can say about the sequels, I don't remember 3 and 4 well enough to talk about, but I do know in the second one, the sister character is in it. Like, Norman's about to be released. It's been, 20 years or whatever. And the same actress is in it. Not just the same character, but the same actress. Who's fighting to keep him locked up. I can't remember. Someone else from this film is in it too. I can't recall who it is. But basically, Norman's trying to live a normal life. And it's actually, not to spoil anything, but it's actually this sister who's doing the killings. And getting her daughter mixed up in it to like befriend Norman and all this.
Right.
And she's the one doing it to make him look like he's doing it again. And then when all these murders start happening, he starts slipping, going, oh my God, it's happening again? Am I doing this again? To get him back into,
I can't remember. I mean, I'm not sure if I've seen part 2 or not. I don't know why I wouldn't have.
I would at least recommend part 2. Part 3, I don't think it's as well received, and I don't remember it well enough to comment on it. Okay. But I was kind of... I saw part 2 maybe a year or so ago, and I was at least pleasantly surprised that it was not bad. Okay. That it was actually, it followed the story, and it,
give it a shot.
Used some of the same characters to give it some credence. Okay. So I would at least say, give part 2 a shake, or just let it end with this, because that's really what it was intended. But even the author, Robert Bloch, wrote a Psycho 2 and a Psycho 3, or it was called Psycho House, and I think that those books are completely different. Than, apart from the first one being different in many ways as well, especially in its depiction of Norman, the second 2 books are completely different than the film versions. So that is Psycho. I'd say probably one of the classiest films that we've reviewed so far. The most famous horror movie house that there is in movie history. The most recognizable. And if you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself to watch this great film. Sorry if we spoiled it for you and you haven't seen it, but we warned you.
Without a doubt, one of the best
Hitchcock,
man ever.
Master of suspense. Not so much horror. This is an exception, really, to the types of films that he did. He didn't do films like this very often.
But I tell you what, if you really enjoy this movie, it may pull you in as an Alfred Hitchcock fan. Go back and watch.
Try Rear Window, especially. Yes. And I would
Stranger on a Train.
Strangers on a Train.
Don't ask me what. I love that movie.
And North by Northwest, just fantastic.
Yes. Give them all
North by Northwest, I love. Just, it's Cary Grant, and it's just mistaken identity, and just, like in the first 20 minutes of the film, I'm just like, this is great.
Oh, yeah.
This is a great movie.
You gotta love it.
So, I remember just, watching a lot of these old movies with my mom, like on Sundays, Turner Classic Movies or whatever, when I was a younger kid, before I would go out and do things with my friends and stuff. Yeah. So that's how I watch a lot of these old films. We were talking about Arsenic and Old Lace before the podcast.
Oh.
That's one we might want to do for you here pretty soon. That's a cool one with Cary Grant as well.
Oh yeah.
That might be coming up soon. That's one I haven't seen in a long time, and now you got me in the mood for it.
Great movie, yeah.
And we've got a cool idea for Halloween time. We were talking. We might bring our children on, and we were talking about doing like some Three Stooges, Little Rascals that have like a Halloween theme or a horror theme to it. and kind of watching them on the screen here. And
Spooks, Three Stooges, and yeah, so we're gonna have
there's some little rascals that are kind of
kids
spooky.
monster bash. We're gonna have.
Maybe let them get in their costumes or dress up a little bit, and we'll try to spread it out here a little bit so you can see everybody.
Oh yeah.
But we thought because they've been bugging us to be on here. So, my daughter especially.
I may film us all go trick or treating.
Yeah, you think?
What the heck? Why not?
All right.
Anyways, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids will love it. They're bugging us to get on here. So
right. So this might be the occasion to do it. Coming up in Halloween time.
Yeah.
Sometime. We'll do that for a fun one for you guys. You can have your kids watch it with us too.
Heck yeah.
So we didn't decide on next week's movie to tell them yet, right? Or did we?
No, we'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. Like always, check the Facebook, our website, all that stuff. The Little Monsters Movie Podcast. So, anyways, that's it. We'll try to recover for next week. Be a little
blow my nose to heavy metal
right
now.
No. Okay. Catch you next time.
See you, group.